Hi, this is Dawn Epting here, and today, as always, I wanted to talk about a topic from my book, 365 Days of Grace. It's available on Amazon.com by paperback or by electronic Kindle edition. So, today I wanted to talk about the fact that God had a solution to every problem that you would ever face before the foundation of the world. And I want to dig deeper into that. I know that we've heard that often, but I wanted to kind of go into what the word foundation means and get a little bit deeper into that topic on today. So I'm going to come to you from two entries in this book. The first is from June 15th, and it's called When Things Look Bad. And the scripture for that one is from Genesis 26:3, which is when Isaac was in a land of famine. Isaac was actually in a land of famine in this particular scripture, and God told him to sojourn in that land, to stay where there was a famine. So often, when we're confronted with issues and circumstances, trying circumstances, we feel like God does not know, or God is unaware of what we're facing. And the scripture in Genesis 26:3, God told Isaac, sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee. So that's pretty much in any circumstance, God is with us, whatever we're facing. And we all face famines in our own life, trying circumstances that look dry, a marriage that looks like it, you know, um, will not work out, a wayward child, a situation on your job or in your finances. We all face situations that look dry, that we feel like God is unaware of what we're confronted with or what we're facing, but God is very aware of where you are at this very moment, of course. So I'm really going to I just wanted to come to you for a few minutes, talk about the topic from June 13th. We'll come back to June 15th, maybe another video, but June 13th in the book, it's called Solutions Before You Had the Problems. Now, this scripture comes from Revelation 13:8. And that scripture reads, the lamb slain from the foundation of the world. So long before Adam and Eve partook of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, that God told them, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that God told them not to eat from, this scripture indicates that Jesus, the lamb was slain from the foundation of the world. And I wanted to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that, because we understand that Jesus was slain long before the world was created, or when the world was created. God had the concept of salvation and the plan of redemption and salvation at work from the foundation of the world. But I just want to talk a little bit about that word. So this devotional begins that nothing catches God by surprise. And I write, if you get a concept of that, your life will be drastically transformed. Often when we're faced with situations and circumstances, like I said, sometimes we feel like the disciples did, in the Gospels, when there was water coming into the boat and Jesus was asleep in the boat. And they said, Master, don't you care that we're perishing? We feel overwhelmed with circumstances and the floods of life, and we feel like God doesn't care or God is unaware. So sometimes we feel like God is unaware of what we're going through. And of course, Jesus was there and he was aware of what was going on. And at other times, we feel like we think of solutions to the famines in our lives or the dry places. And so we work out, okay, how is this going to work out? How is this situation going to improve? So we lean to our own reasoning, our own understanding. And since we can't figure out a solution, we feel like that God, we've we've gone through all the possible scenarios or solutions, and since we can't figure one out, then surely God can't figure one out either. But that's not the case. God had the solution long before we encountered the problem. So I go on to write, don't look at where you are today or focus on the problems around you, because God had the solutions to your problems long before they ever existed. So that scripture, Revelation 13:8, where it says the lamb slain from the foundation of the world, I wanted to talk a little bit about that. The word foundation in the Greek is the word katobale. Katobale. And in the Strong's Concordance, it means founding, conception, conceive, foundation. And I wanted to focus on, of course, we know it's foundation, but conceive or conception. That word conceive or conception. That word in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary means to think of or create something in the mind. So to conceive is to think of or create something in the mind. So when we read that scripture in Revelation 13:8, that Jesus was the lamb slain from the foundation of the world, it's much deeper than just when God was laying the foundation of the world and when God was laying the cornerstone and forming the earth and the seas. It's much deeper than that. It means that God had the solution to the sin problem in the mind of God from the foundation of the world. And it means that he had the solution to the sin problem conceived in his mind long before the world was ever formed. So even before he laid the cornerstone and formed the land and he formed the seas, long before that, he knew what the problem would be in terms of Adam and Eve partaking of that tree, losing their identity. That was the real problem. The real problem with the fall is that Adam and Eve failed to realize that they were created in the image and the likeness of God. And through the sacrificial death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, that identity of who man is and always was would be restored through Christ. So God had the solution long before the world was ever formed. In his mind, it was conceived in the mind of God that the world would be formed, the world would be created, but even before that, he had the solution. So in another devotional, what I talk about that I wrote is that the very fact that you have a need is an indication that God has provided for that need. God never allows us as his sons and his daughters to have a need without making the provision for that need in advance. So I hope that you enjoy this particular writing. Again, it's June 13th, Solutions Before You Had the Problems. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Thank you.